You wanna fly? You wanna get flight potions? These flight potions? You could go and look in the sky and find those little things. It's called sky shrines, and sometimes, let's see, they have either feather falling or flight potions. 3 minutes. I've seen up to 3 in one chest, but yeah, often you just don't get any. The other possibility is to brew them, and for brewing them you need pixie dust. There's 2 different pixie dusts. There's this pixie dust from Ice and Fire, from those asshole pixies. You don't need that one. You need the one from Familiar Fauna, from these guys, right? These guys. See, there's already the pixie dust. But how do you find those guys? They only spawn in flower forests. How do you find a flower forest? First of all, it can look like this, but this can also be meadows, so you're not sure if that's flower forest. But cartographers sell maps, and sometimes those are maps for flower forests. You can see this guy doesn't sell a flower forest map. This guy doesn't. I actually had to check 8 guys until I found this guy with the flower forest Pathfinder map. Now I can check this and follow it. And now you can see there is no fucking pixies. Okay, I do F3A. What the hell? There's no pixies. What do I do? So, pixies spawn in the ambient mob cap. In vanilla Minecraft, there's only one mob that spawns in the ambient mob cap, and that's the bat. Now the ambient mob cap works like the hostile mob cap, so they spawn when a player is nearby and they despawn when a player is farther than 128 blocks away from them, and they're still loaded. So what we do to despawn all the bats that are down in the caves is we just fly up. What you can also do is like make a like if you can't fly, like if you don't have a flying mount, you can make just pillar up, like just pillar up, use some ladders or whatever to climb up and down or jump or whatever to despawn all the bats in the caves. Now all the bats in the caves are despawned. We go down and bam, there is a pixie. You can do that as often as you want and just kill them, and sometimes they drop the pixie dust. You can easily find them with F3A even in the new version because of all the particles. But yeah. Now sometimes people, especially on multiplayer servers, still don't get pixie spawns even if they do this. So you might have ambient mobs in your spawn chunks. You find your spawn chunks by getting out a compass and following this red line here, or this red line. And I'm gonna do that from 0, 0. Because it usually is kinda close to 0, 0. It can be up to 2000 blocks away. Probably gonna cut to when I find the spawn chunks. Oh. Okay, we're already here. So you find your spawn chunks like this, you just check where the compass turns around. There. So it is around these 4 blocks. And now you can check your actual spawn chunks, it's like 12 by 12 chunks, by from like you get into those four blocks and then you go to the southeast one, so there's one. And you check the chunk relative coordinates, that's 8, 0. If it's 8 or more, you go to this to 15. If it's 7 or less, you go to 0. So we're already at 0, we don't have to change that. We have to go to 15, 0 now. Bam. So this block, this block, this block. These 4 are the... I guess that's not yeah. These 4 blocks. So this is the chunk corner in the middle here. And like in each direction a chunk starts, or well, you could go 6 chunks and it will be part of the spawn chunks. Or 8 chunks if you count the lazy chunks. So this is the center of the void, you could say. This is also where mobs spawn when they go through the end portal. Now, there's 6 chunks in each direction that are always loaded. Behind those 6 chunks are 2 more chunks that are always lazy loaded, if you're not close by. Lazy loaded mobs don't despawn. Now what happens if I have lots of ambient mobs in those lazy chunks here? They will fill the mob cap. And if that happens, you don't get any more ambient mob spawns. Now what do? You go to the spawn chunks and you fly above them like 128 blocks in a circle or in a square around the center. Like this. To despawn all the beds in the lazy chunks. Just flying around 128 blocks above to despawn all the ambient mobs. And when you're done, you don't land here, but you fly somewhere else. For example, back to your Pixie spawn point, and then the Pixies should spawn.